crafty friend. Today I'm showing you how you can make these 6 junk journal covers. Each one's unique, uses minimal supplies, and they're beginner friendly. So if you're looking for some inspiration or you're new to junk journaling, then come join me on the craft desk and let's make these really beautiful and easy junk journal covers.
In a fun junk journal dream, DJ's crafting grungy scenes. Hither and Yon, where friends all meet. Paper glue and vintage treats.
Alright, my crafty friends, welcome back to the studio. Thanks for coming back, and if you're new here, welcome. We're going to work through these very easy, beginner-friendly journal covers. I know sometimes beginners struggle, and even advanced creators struggle coming up with ideas for covers, right? It's pages, page spreads, and covers. They seem to be the ones that most people struggle with. And yeah, you can simply slap a photo on here or put a piece of lace, and that's a journal, and that's fine. That works too. Whatever you make that you like, that's your style, that works. But today I'm going to give you some additional ideas. So if you're looking for something new, you can kind of work through this. Okay, so I just want to start by saying that most of my journals are 9x6. And there's a lot of books that are out there that are 9x6, but I like 9x6 because my pages are usually 8.5x11. I use letter size in the US. And when you fold those in half, it ends up being 8.5x5.5, which fits lovely inside of a 9x6. So what I like to do is make toppers that you can just make and have ready and then put on a journal. So to that end, I like to have some cards around that are cut in a 8.5x5.5 size, sorry. That way they can just be transported and put right on top of a journal and they're ready to go. So if you have some time or you're feeling uninspired, you can go ahead and wrap some chipboard or some cereal box or macaroni box that you have cut down to 8.5x5.5 or whatever is a standard size. If you do traveler size journals, maybe your journals are more tall than wide, so you want to do different sizes, or maybe you do mini journals, or whatever the case may be. You can just cut down some pages and then wrap them or put some paper on them and get them ready to go so that when you're ready to make a journal cover, you have some back. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to put everything on a topper. I'm not actually going to cover journals with fabric and get into all that in this video, because this is more a beginner friendly video, or just some easy kind of go-to covers that you can make. So we're going to do these as toppers. And so what I've done is I've cut down some chipboard to 8.5x5.5, and then I covered some of these. Some of these we're going to dry brush on, so I didn't cover them. But I covered with music paper. I had an old ledger page. I had some collaged papers, and then this was another one that I dry brushed. So I have some prep so we can, kind of move through this, and it doesn't take 3 hours, which I know some of you don't mind, but yeah, not everybody has that kind of time, right? But you can always skip ahead and, see which one you like and get past all my blabbering if you don't want to listen to me. But yeah, so I have prepped some. You can, wrap the paper around them like I did with this one, or just cut it to size and glue it to the top like I did with this one. And, kind of make them the way that you want. Ink them if you want. I'm going to do a lot of inking, but I'll skip through that. You guys have watched me ink, and if you haven't, you can go back and watch so many videos on my channel where I am inking. But we all pretty much know how to ink, so I will skip through that part. I'll just try to get to the meaty good parts, and we'll put these together. Okay, so number one, first one up, we're going to use this background. Okay, and I have some goodies here, which I'll go over with you in a second, but I am going to ink this up quick. Okay, so I have a few more pieces for this one. I have another little back here. I have a piece of fabric with a big accent floral element on it. You could definitely just use another piece of paper. You don't have to use fabric. I'm going to use fabric and I'm going to sew around this because I like to sew. But if you don't like to sew, you can just glue it down. And so paper might be a better option. I have a piece of crocheted lace. I have like a bunch of bits and ends that were cut off of other pieces. This is just some cheesecloth that is grungied up and kind of pulled apart. I've tea dyed it, but it needs a little more grunge. And this is like a shabby chic looking one. I have another little bit here that came off of a doily, I believe, of some type. So I'm going to use that also. And then I have a couple of envelopes here. And the way these work is it's just a piece of a rectangle that I folded up once. I've folded in the corners like that and folded it down. They're not going to be working envelopes. They're just an accent for the cover. So they're just decorative elements. And I have a couple of butterflies, little elements that can go on the cover that match your theme. And I have these two words. I don't know which one. Maybe I'll use both. I don't know. But this is just a layering. So very simple. You kind of, I'm going to kick mine in different directions. If that bothers you, you can certainly make everything straight, but I like everything a little wonky. And then once I figure out how I want it to go, I'm just going to glue it down. And since I'm going to sew over it, I'm just going to use a glue stick. I'm going to use my Oohoo glue. I just need it to tack in place while I sew it. So it doesn't have to be permanent. However, if you are not going to sew, then you obviously want yours a little more permanent. And I want to consider, this is going to be 8.5 by 5.5. My cover is going to be 9 by 6. So I don't want to go too far off because then I'll be maybe going off the side of the cover and we don't want to do that. And so I'm just going to tack this down in a couple of places like so, just so it stays while I'm sewing. And so this one's going a little this way, this one's going a little this way. And I'm going to have a word on here kind of up in this corner, so I'm considering that. And then I'm going to have some accents down here and throughout. So I'm going to leave this here for that. And I'm going to go sew this. I'll be right back. Okay, so that's sewn in place. And now it's just really adding in my accents wherever I want them. I think I want to have this up here, like so. And I'm going to use some Fabrifix to attach this. I get a lot of questions about glue. Some of it's comical and some of it is just messing with me. But some of it is honest. And I think some people want to know, like, what is the best glue to use for this and that. My go-tos are Art Glitter Industries glue, and I mix that with a little PVA and water. And then my Fabrifix. For anything fabric, ribbons, textiles, I use Fabrifix because it holds really well. And one other thing that you need to consider as you're building out these pages is whether or not you're going to have some type of closure. The reason I like toppers is because you can always put a ribbon under this when you put it on your journal and then tie it off. So they kind of are super easy to work with. All right, so we have that. We have our fun sewing. We've inked. I have this piece here. Actually, it's two pieces, but let's see. I think maybe the smaller one is better. I think I want something up there, but we're not going to glue this down. I know I want that there, so I'm not worried about that. We'll see if I want that there. I definitely think I want the envelopes down here somewhere. So I'm trying to balance in my cover. 3 is always a good number. Odd numbers are always a good number. So I have a back and this, so that's 3. I have this and these 2, that's 3. Technically, these can be considered one element, so I could have that and that. You can go 5. I just feel like the rule for art and the human eye, and for many people, is that uneven numbers are appealing. And I don't know why that is. Symmetry is appealing in some aspects, but asymmetry is in others. So I don't know why that is. I'm sure somebody does, but yeah, I don't know. So just consider that. Maybe this needs to be just a bit smaller. Or a lot smaller. I don't know. We'll see. We could also put it down here. And then I'm going to be covering up that, but this is kind of a main focal point. So I kind of like that. And then I have So Pretty and Beautiful. I could use both. So we could do something like that. And then I could put like one of my butterflies here and over here. Maybe we'll do that. Could also have this here. Like that, and not use Beautiful at all. We could also do something like that. So actually, I kind of like that layout a lot. That's what we're going with. So, I'm giving you some rules, but not all the rules. And you kind of want to, see what looks good with yours. But this is a good little layout. So you can follow it exact, and then it's flawless, right? If you like this design. For these, now that I got glue all over my hands, hold on. Okay, for these, I want to glue everything closed. So since this is out, I'm just going to use it. I'm just going to glue those closed. I'm going to glue this closed. And it doesn't have to be perfect. One thing you can do is you can just glue this top portion here and then tuck something into the side if you'd like. You can make it like a little hidden pocket. But we're just going to glue it down today. Like that and like that. So these are smaller. I'm just going to use this. This is my other favorite glue. So if you have the glue question, there's your answers. These are all in my Amazon shop, by the way, so you can click the description box to get there. All right, so we're going to put that like that, and everything's sticking to my finger. So we've kind of covered the ends of those. I don't like when the raw edge is sticking out, so I want to make sure that these cover it like that. It just looks a little neater to me. That's my style, and I think it works. And again, I'm doing angles here because it kind of all works and it looks junk journal-y. There's a little haphazardness to it all. Grunginess, roughness, kind of using what you have type of setup. Yeah, I really like this, so I am definitely going to use this layout. So that's glued down already. I'm just going to add some glue to this. And these little bits here, this card, these words here are from a Graphics 45 kit. I'm not sure exactly which one, but that's where they came from. If you know, then the thing is, like, it's older, so I don't know how available it is. And I like the big word with the little word and the contrasting colors. That works really well for me. I do like this up here, so I am going to add this. And I think I grungied up the other piece, but just going to do something like that. You can also take some thread and just kind of wind it up and mash it up and use that. And we'll do that. And this, and then our first one is done. So very easy, right? Just minimal pieces. And it's very shabby chic. So if you put this, let's say you covered it with fabric or you painted it or something, and then you could put a piece of lace here on the end or over in the corner, and you have a beautiful topper. So that's number one. We'll put that over here. Okay, number two, you're going to need a little twine of some type, yarn, something, some buttons. I don't know, you don't need this many buttons, but I didn't know which button I was going to use, so I'm probably just going to use one or two of these. And then you need some background pieces. So this was the one that I originally made as a backer. And then this is just some Amazon paper that I tore. And again, we're going to work in layers here. And you can see that I'm going light, dark, kind of medium grade here, light again. And then I have some book page, so I'm kind of bringing some floral elements, and you can kind of arrange these any way you like. I might even tear this because I am going to see part of it, and I didn't think I would, but I will. All right. So again, I'm going to stagger these, and then this book page we can kind of put in the middle, but I'm going to wrap it around this, and I'll show you why in a sec. It's just a piece of cardstock that I cut so that I can wrap it around. You could definitely just glue it on there and then cut around it. And then I have two accents, so I want a big accent in the middle. I'm not sure which, so I have a couple of those. And then I just have a word here. And we didn't put a word on our last one. You could put a journal plate or something and play with different things like that. But that leaves it open so you can use it later and then choose, you know, the name of your journal or something if you wanted to. This one I'm actually going to put, you know, some words on, so I did choose them. Okay, I'm going to ink these up and I'll be right back. Okay, so these are inked, and in case it wasn't apparent, I'm working with 5 layers. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I think with the odd number, again, we're kind of finding a nice balance in what we have. I'm also mixing text with plain papers, florals. This is music. This could certainly be book page, and then you could use a different type of text paper. Here you could swap the music sheet for the book page so they could switch places. But this one I'm going to wrap around here, and it will make sense why in just a sec. So I just wanted to give it a little extra sturdiness because the book page is kind of flimsy. It's an older book. So I'm first going to just dry fold it around here, and I'm just going to cut off the bulk on the corners like this. And this doesn't have to be perfect by any means. It's supposed to look kind of shabby and junky, grungy, and, you know, haphazard. And then, let me use the glue stick. Just going to put some glue here. Doesn't have to be a lot. And then I'm just going to add a little here. Okay, and then just fold this all over. I just want to cover up that entire piece of cardstock. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to glue this down. So don't worry if it's not completely perfect. I like imperfection, which is a good thing because most of the stuff I do is pretty imperfect. Perfectly imperfect, like me. Okay, so now that that is done, I will ink it. And the reason we wrapped this is because I'm going to have my twine going behind it, and we're going to wrap it a few times and then glue it down. And we're going to put a button on it, so all of that will work out. But the first thing I want to do is glue these down and sew them up. All right, so again, very simple. Let me get out a glue book here. I'm just gonna glue these down. Since I'm sewing, I don't have to be overly aggressive with the glue. So where do you sew, right? I mean, that's always the question. So you can do whatever you like and you don't have to sew at all. If you're using all paper, you can actually use faux stitching. Maybe you don't like to sew or you don't have the means to sew, so you can just sew. You can just draw in little stitches and do some faux stitching. You can sew on any of the pieces that you like. It really is up to you where you kind of want to sew. And again, I'm just taking a little, this way, that way. And then our piece here, I'm not going to sew. But what I'm going to choose to do is just kind of go around this brown one because I think that'll look kind of cool. And it's going to be a lighter thread. I'm just going to keep what's in my machine. And I'm also going to sew around this separately. So around the brown and around here, I'll be right back. Okay, so these are all sewn. And when I have the lighter thread, I kind of like to come in here with my ink and just darken it up a little bit. If this were like a very dark piece of something, I wouldn't do that so much, but it just makes it come out a little more. Here, I don't think I need to do much to it except cut off these ends, and maybe you're going to keep those because you like that. But that's how that looks. Okay, and so now, move this. We're going to decide I want to wrap it 3 times, and I'm going to tie it in the front with the button. So we're just going to do 1, and I'm going to kind of make them crisscrossy and maybe make them down a little because I want to put one of these over it. And actually, maybe I'll put it up top more because of the way that flower is going to lay out, and I'm definitely going to use this one. It's already inked and ready to go, and it looks like it was on something, so it's actually kind of ratty-tatty. So 1, 2, like that, and we'll make it a little longer than we need, and then I'm going to find a button I like. It's kind of going to go with this. Maybe the darker one will just stand out more. And I'm just going to feed my thread. Oh, actually, that's kind of cool. That's how it's supposed to look. Put a little glue on the end so I can twist it. And I'm going to feed one end through this buttonhole, hopefully. And one end through this buttonhole. Like so. And I do want it off to the side. And I'm just going to tie a knot. It just adds a little extra something. There we go. I don't want to pull it too hard and bend my card. But and then just going to do that. A little shorter. Like that. Move them out of the way. And then that's going to glue on there. And you can actually kind of lift one or the other. So you could add a little something behind there like kids craft foam if you want. I like it the way that it is. I am going to separate these a little. Not evenly, but just so you can see the separation. And then maybe I'll lift this one. I'm just going to get a little extra craft foam. A little extra. I don't have any to begin with. What are you talking about? So this is just really cheap kids craft foam. I like to use it. If you have some dimensional tape, you can certainly use that, but this works fine and it's super cheap. And it lasts forever. I have a pack of all different colors, which doesn't matter what color it is because nobody ever sees it, except me. All right, so this is going to glue down, and then that's going to glue on top of it. So make sure that these stay where they're supposed to. And then just do a little of this. And then this. And you could use either of these glues for the craft foam. Both work fine. So that just gives it a little dimension. And then we have our word here. So, and of course you could definitely build on this. I kind of like it hanging off the side, but I think I'm going to put a piece of something behind it. I love this saying. Nature laughs in flowers. I just want something to make it stand out, so maybe this down here. That works. And then I can follow the line, and I can actually maybe get a straight line. Maybe. All right, I'm going to ink both. The inking to me helps one pop and move away from the other, but if you don't like to ink, then that is absolutely fine. All ways are good. Let me know what you think about this topper system in the comments. If you think it's a good way to kind of make some journal covers ahead, or if you kind of like to make them on the fly as you're making your journals. I like to do both. We could put it, I think, up here because there's a little more space up here. And I'm going to kind of offset it off that edge. A little lace under it would work too. Like that. Okay, so that is number 2. I think it would look pretty if you did a border of lace around it all the way around and then put it down, like a very fine lace. But anyway, that's number 2. Super easy, guys, right? You got this paper in your stash. Okay, so the next one up, we're going to do a little dry brushing technique. But here's what you need. You need one of the backs. You need a piece of paper. that is kind of going to go with your theme. Now, this one's going to have some flowers on it, and these are the flowers. I got these at the Dollar Tree or something. They came in a bundle of 5. One of the dollar stores, I don't know if it was Dollar Tree or Dollar General, and they've been in my stash for a couple of years, so I don't know if they're going to have these exact same ones, but any kind of third dimensional flower. You can even make these yourself. And then I have some strips that are the cutoffs from book pages. So that's all this is. And all I did was I kind of crumbled it in a little like this. And you'll see why. But this one, I'm not going to use too much ink on. We'll do a little, but you need 5 of these, or 3 or 5, like an odd number. I like 5 because you'll see why when I get to it. But this back here, we're going to do a little dry brushing. I still want to keep some of this brown look, but I want to push it back a little. So I'm just going to get out a little titanium white. This is Liquitex, but any white acrylic, craft acrylic is fine. It doesn't matter. You don't need expensive glue for expensive paint for this. And I'm just got, this is from the kids section. The kids, you don't want to use your good brushes for this. So I just have one of these. All the bristles fall off. It's fine. If that bothers you, find a brush that don't happen to. And then we want to dip it in the paint and just get most of it off. Hence the dry brushing. And then we're just going to go over our card. And you can do swirls, you can do lines, you can do whatever it is that gives you that kind of whitewashed look. Kind of like when they used to water down the paint to extend it and do the fences. So they would brighten it up, but it would use less paint. So they would water down the paint to make it go a little further, hence the whitewashing. Most of this is going to be covered. I'm really concentrating on the end. So what I want to do here, just get a little more, is get most of it off and then kind of brush in like this with my bristles. So it's kind of like I'm inking, but with the paint. So I'm just kind of pulling it in off that edge. If you pick it up, you kind of get a better effect sometimes. I'll go that way too. Just play with it, see what you like. I kind of like how it streaks in like that. So you need a little more paint on your brush to do. Like that. And like I said, nobody's going to see this part, but over here it will be seen. So I pushed it back, but you can still tell that it's brown. And that's it. Super easy. You just get inky, little ickies on your hands, but that's okay. And for this one, this is more of an elegant look. So I'm not going to do any inking on this. What I want to do though is I want these to be at like a graduated decline, like so. And I'm going to cut them off and we're going to sew them on. Now, if you don't sew, it's fine. You can just glue them down. So what you're going to do is you're just going to decide where you want them to kind of cut off. And I don't want them going all the way to the end, so I'm going to try to rip it as straight as I can. So I think I want that one about there. And then the bottoms I want to all match. like down here. But up there, I want them to kind of start to decline. Like so. And you decide how much of a decline. We're going to put a floral element right here. So these flowers are kind of going to go in here. So just consider that. And I would say just kind of watch the video through and then decide which ones you think you might want. And they don't have to be even. I'm doing them this way, but you could certainly like have this one jump up a little more, like in between this one and this one. And then have that one there too. That, you know, so you can add your own spin on it. Try it a couple of different ways with different journals and see which way you like better. All right. So now I'm just going to go to the machine and actually let me tack these down where I want them because otherwise they will move all over the place. So I'm just going to, I'm not even going to rub. I'm just going to kind of do this. And when I sew these, it's going to kind of make an indent down the middle, which I love. And I think I originally saw this design on a card or something on Pinterest. And I kind of adapted it to this. So, like that, stay. I take a lot of my cover designs from the card making community because if you think about it, like the front of a greeting card is like a journal cover. And I think there's a lot of inspiration you can find there. Okay, so now they're all glued down and spaced somewhat evenly. Actually, this one needs a little more. So I'm going to go sew them, and I'm going to sew them to just this card. I'm not going to sew them through the cardstock. Okay, I'm all sewn up. I'm just going to kind of come back in here and raise these up a little. And then we're going to put that down. Now you can also do these the opposite way, right? Like you could do them that way and do more. You could do them in multicolors if you'd like. I do want to put just a tiny bit of ink around here just so it stands out. I don't want to go crazy with it, but I do just want a tiny bit. There's some brown in those flowers, so I just want to make sure that I'm picking up a little of that color. Okay. And then we can kind of just dust it. I just want it to look a little shabby. Oops, we don't want to see them coming through, so let me just... Alright, and then I'm going to glue this down. I am going to use the Fabrifix. Just know that this can get lumpy at times, so if your paper is a little thinner, you want to kind of smooth this out with a paintbrush or a popsicle stick or something. If you're using, you know, like copy weight paper. So that's going to go there. This one's super easy, guys. And like I said, if you don't want to sew, I just did a little zigzag stitch. You can just glue them down. That would work fine. If you do embroidery, you could do some kind of embroidery there. I'm just going to put those two there. If you have some greenery, you could kind of put that out, but this is kind of the quick and dirty way. Do one there. And I think I got a bag of like 10 of these for $1 or something. Maybe 2. Well worth it. Give some dimension. We'll let them dry. I brought out 2 words. I wanted to see which one would work best. I think I like She is Fearless, but I think Release is kind of more the color scheme. So I'm just going to put that there. Do I like that? Yeah, I do. But I'm thinking I want to sew that. So, all right. So I'm going to, that's what I would do. But we got to move on. So I'm going to do this for now. And I will sew that once the glue dries. Number 3. Number 4 is just all layers again. This one works a little different. We're going to put a tag on the front of it. So we'll add some, a little extra zhuzh. What I did here was I took a piece of this and I put some blue cardstock over it and I sewed around it. But before I did the sewing, I did that dry brush effect on here as well. And you can see it's just like really adds some texture to the color. I could have just went with the blue cardstock. That would have been fine. But this just kind of adds another dimension. And then this one, we're just going to do some more layering. Only this time, we're going to do some layering with and create a pocket at the same time. And I love hidden pockets and covers because when you have layers, it's kind of hard to tell that there's a pocket even there with anything in it. And I just think that's super fun. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to ink all these pieces. I'll be right back. Okay, everything is inked. And by the way, I'm using Distressing Vintage Photo by Ranger. Use your favorite or don't use any, up to you. And again, I have a mix of some text, some textures, some solids, and just having that combo is kind of what makes this really work. Another thing I'm doing is when I'm layering, I'm doing the layering so that these pieces kind of fall off of the other pieces. Like when I add this one in, it's kind of going to come up like that or something to that effect. But I want, and this one's over, this one's away from that one. And it kind of just gives your eye some places to kind of roam. I do have to be aware that there is going to be a pocket here. So when I arrange these, I want to make sure I don't glue my pocket closed. And then my pocket is going to sit in this. And see how it kind of hides it, and it kind of lends some interest to the page. And I also have this, so I might bring this into the mix. It wasn't planned, but and then this piece is very structured. You see it's not torn, it's very straightforward. I think by adding that in, it kind of brings your eye forward. And if I add this on the background, this is more of that cheesecloth, I think that I can bring the eye in even more like that. So let's get gluing down. This is going to be my first piece, and I am not going to sew this anymore, though you certainly could. But I want to make sure that my glue is going to stay. All right, so this piece is going to kind of come up here, like so. And then I have my pocket piece that I have to glue down as a pocket. And I want to leave room for my word and my tag. So that should be good like that. And this is just some collage paper. It's one of my Friday freebies. If you're on the list, at some point you're going to get this. I blew it up to a larger size to kind of make this, but it's a beautiful, it's a set of 3 collage pages. And my Friday freebies are in the description box below. You get a new freebie every Friday. All right, and then my book page. And see, now I'm kind of going crossways this way, and I'm hanging it over. I want to kind of get it over both. And then this one I'm going to glue down solid again. The many ways of layers, right? Like so. And then this piece, so I'm kind of picking up the colors from in here. So that's why I chose it. I could have easily went with a lavender, but I kind of went with what I went with. And when I glue this piece down, I just want to make sure I glue everything except that very tippy top. So I'll make sure I hold that. Glue this whole thing down. And everything is torn, which makes that very structured piece stand out a bit more. And the reason I'm going up over this pocket is just so that it's adding to that illusion of, you know, the tag kind of being hidden. And because the tag is collaged, again, I picked up some of that blue as more of that collage paper. I just put a strip down the middle, and then I think I'll add in some of this, although maybe some of this might be better. Hold on. Okay, I couldn't find another piece of it, but I'm going to use some brown. I wanted it to blend in a little more. So, of course, you can't find a piece when you need it, right? So this is going to go through here. And you could put more than one pocket. That would add even more fun. And I am just going to staple it. Hopefully, I have staples in here. Yay! Love it when a plan comes together. Okay, and you can adjust that height. And then we're going to add this. There you go. Like, why won't you work with the little house? So, we do this. And you can mix and match some of the elements from all of these, right? You can see how you could wrap some twine around this, add some buttons. And then I'm just going to put my word maybe down here. And that could be your journal word. I mean, you can use any word. You can put the big word journal or whatever. Okay. And that is number 4. Yes, 4. That's a check. So very fun, right? Again, you could put some paper ribbon, some regular lace or ribbon. That would be great. Okay, number 5 may not be for everybody. But what I did was I found, you know, a background that I liked. I put it on my topper. And then I went, and if you don't have die cuts, then you know, this one might not work for you. But if you have anything where you have multiples of the same type of paper, you can even do this with hole punches. So you could punch, or circles rather, you can punch out circles and punch them out of different colored papers and kind of get the same effect. But let me show you the effect so you kind of know what I'm talking about. I am going to ink. Okay, what we're going to do is I have these dies that have an outer, like a solid piece, and then a piece that goes over them like this. So what I did was I cut out, let's see, I cut out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel like I'm missing one. 5. Okay, I did 5 of the solids, and then I did 3 of these so I could slip them in between. So, like this. And so what I figured I would do is just kind of layer them, and then we're going to, you'll see. Less talking, more making. 2. Maybe I'll put that one there. Okay, I'm going to glue them all together, and I'm just going to, actually, I want to have one of these on top, so we'll do that. Then we'll do 2 and 2. That should work. Okay, let me glue them all together. And I'm just going to glue them in the center, and that's what you want to do. Even if you're using circles, don't glue everything together. You just kind of want to glue a line down the center, because we're going to give them a 3D effect. So I'm going to glue all mine together, and I'll be right back. Okay, I inked everything up, and I had this tag I wanted to add, but it needed a little something. So I just got out some tumbled glass oxide, and I stenciled over it. This is going to be one of the accents, but then with the butterflies, I glued them all together. You can see they're just stacked, and I kind of put some of the cut ones tucked in there. And now I just want to bend these all up. So I glued them down the middle. And we're just giving it a nice 3D effect. Okay, so we're kind of going to do that, and then we're going to do this. And you can have as few or as many as you want. You don't have to do this many if it's a lot for you. And then when you have it on the cover, you know, it kind of just gives a little movement and 3D effect. So let me do this other one. Okay, I could see this with like Christmas ornaments, if you cut out or snowflakes, or even like snowballs for a winter scene. Obviously, I got winter on the brain. And so I'm going to put the tag here, and then I have some words that I'm going to add to the tag as like the cover. And it says butterflies are self-propelled flowers, which I think is so cute. And because it's a cover, we can do this with the 3D art. This one I'm going to glue all the way down. Let that dry, and then we'll fluff it back up. But in the meantime, I will glue down this tag. Yeah, the tag is an accent, so it's not going to come out and be usable. It is just going to be there for looks. And you could add a little piece of lace here, but, you know, you can also keep it very simple. If you're a beginner, sometimes simple is better. Or sometimes you just need to get a cover done, you know, and you don't need all the pizzazz. What I like to do with the butterflies, because a lot of them don't have their little antennas, let me just clean that up. A little extra glue there we don't need, right? Let's just draw these back in. Otherwise, they'll probably fly in circles. Okay, so that's that. And then the last bit is just to put on our words, and I kind of want to do them in a... You could just do them down the side if you wanted, but I'm going to use my tag as the focal point. And I'm going to have them all kind of wonky. It's a good way to use quotes. Oop. They are self-propelled flowers, right? Ooh. It's just more grungy. We'll get that up. Hold on. Sometimes fabric works really well. You can always put a little piece of lace with a button. And that's what we're going to do. Not planned. Why not? Or you could just watch what you're doing and not be all over the place. Buttons and lace can fix a lot. Now my finger stuck to it, of course. There we go. Simple, right? You just have a tag, a couple of cutouts. You don't necessarily need the errors. And then a quote. And that is a nice journal cover. Okay, that is number 5. Okay, and number 6 is going to be another layered piece, but this one's going to be really super simple. Well, you know, I guess that's a relative term. So all I have here is the backer. I'm going to leave it like it is. I have a piece of book page that I cut just like a border. The page this is from the page, not my cutter. The paper itself is kind of fibrous, so I love that. And when it happens, I'm super happy. So we have that. And then I have a piece of cardboard. I love this little thin cardboard that has like the little ridges. It's hard to find, but whenever I see it, I try to completely cannibalize the box. And all you do is you tear out a piece you want. You can just put a little water. I would dip your fingers and just rub it on, or you could spray it on. You don't want it too heavy though. And then just give it a couple of minutes and then it'll start to peel off. Sometimes you can get lucky and you can just get a piece that'll peel off without you having to wet it. But yeah, we have that. Now you can also go over this with white paint if you want. I'm just going to try to do this super quick and easy for you because it's the last one and we're almost there. So I'm just going to put this one down. This is going to go super quick. I also have off to the side here a little bingo card. So that's going to go here. And then I have some die cuts. You could just fussy cut some flowers out of a magazine or a book or something, you know, that you have around. These are kind of going to go like in a little bundle. And then I wasn't sure if I wanted to have this really big butterfly, which I really love, or like a wax seal. Either would work. And then I also had a little butterfly, so you could do like a wax seal with the butterfly, but I really think I like the big butterfly, so I think I'm going to use that because I love the way it looks. So I'm not going to do anything fancy here. I'm just going to glue everything down. So first the cardboard, and you can certainly ink, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to get everything down. Usually if you get a box that's super thin, you can kind of look and see you know, what kind of ridges are in it. But usually when the box is thin, it's usually one of these thinner corrugated styles. All right, and then the bingo card. And I'm just going to use this all the way through because it's kind of bulky and there's all different, you know, ripples and stuff. But I want to see some of it. And the book page kind of lays the background. You could certainly sew around here. All right, for these, since I'm going to cover them up anyway, I'm just going to put some glue down and just kind of arrange them so that everything is kind of touching glue. We'll put this guy up here. like that. These kind of all work together. These are the Sizzix Thinlits, and I think they're one of the wildflowers. Not sure what's available anymore. Then I'm going to put this guy on here, and I'm going to let those little bits stick out. Don't know I'll be able to throw his antenna back on. We'll just say it's hidden in the flowers. And I don't want to cover up that bingo because I want people to know it's a bingo card. And then I just have a little word. You can put it right there. And the black kind of stands out and it picks up some of the black back here. How simple is that? That is a very cool cover, a very respectable cover. Now, if you wanted to kind of draw the eye back out here, you could take a black ink, like a, you know, your, any of your permanent inks, or even if you have like, what is it? Something timber from the Ranger line, and just do the edges around. You could also just draw in or sew with black ink. So that's our sixth. So let's do a quick recap here. All right, guys, so here they are, not necessarily in the order in which we did them, but 6 very beautiful and very easy, very beginner-friendly journal covers, toppers that you can create and use in your journal. So leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of these. Which one is your favorite? Which one do you like the best? And let me know if you're going to try any of these. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new here. It really helps the channel and it lets others know that you like this video and it's worth watching. So I hope to see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day or night. Bye!